Hello, everyone. My name is Ariva Martin, and I'm the founder and president of Special Needs Network. I am super excited to everyone today. Happy Autism Acceptance Month. Now, you notice I said acceptance and not awareness. There's been this big debate in the autism community about whether we should focus on awareness or acceptance. And I think the decision or the verdict is in, and that is that we should be focusing on acceptance. Now, of course, all of us at Special Needs Network will continue to raise awareness about autism, about the incredible people that are working in the field to make the lives of individuals living on the spectrum better. We'll continue to highlight the horrible disparities that we've seen with respect to diagnosis and treatment when it comes to African American and Latinx children, but we also are broadening our tent to make sure we are focusing on acceptance. Now, what does that mean? Acceptance means recognizing that people who live on the autism spectrum are just like you, they're just like me, they're just like our neighbors, our family members. They are people. And as every person that we know, they want to be loved, they want to be nurtured, they want to be accepted for who they are. And that's exactly what we do at Special Needs Network. We are about the business of making sure that everyone that lives on the spectrum gets integrated into our lives, into our communities, into our cities, our states, and our nation. We are working on a range of new programs to ensure that that mission is fulfilled, from our CAD, our Center for Autism, that's going to open in August or September of this year on the historic MLK campus, to our new Special Needs Network Think Institute. Yes, we're opening our own research and think tank because we want to study these issues of structural racism. We want to know, why does disparities, or why do disparities continue to exist in the diagnosis and treatment of minority children? We want to innovate, practice models that can be used, service delivery models that can be used around the country. We want to make sure that law enforcement agents and social workers and educators and everyone in our community that comes in touch with someone on the autism spectrum knows what it means to accept those individuals, how to treat them with respect and dignity. We don't want to see those incidents happen like we saw a couple of weeks ago, that Target store when that 14-year-old African-American autistic boy was tackled to the ground. And we heard his mother talk about him being racially profiled. We want to help law enforcement agents and stores like Target around the nation understand what it means to be respectful and to treat individuals with autism with dignity. So stay tuned. You're going to hear a lot more about our Think Institute. You're going to hear a lot more about the opening of our Center for Autism and Developmental Disabilities. And if you live in Los Angeles, you have an opportunity to visit us, to come and witness what I consider to be the vibrancy, the miracle, and just the power of Special Needs Network. Yes, on Saturday, April 30th, from 7:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, we are going to take over Los Angeles Trade Technical College. We're going to be there in full force. Yes, our first time in 2 years since COVID shut down our Tools for Transformation conference. This was the largest autism, disability rights, and social justice conference in the region. Now we're rebuilding, because we had to go online for the last 2 years because of COVID. But we are expecting families, caregivers, professionals, and experts to join us on Saturday, April 30th. We have an incredible day planned for you. Everything from free breakfast and lunch to giveaways to a dynamic presentation by none other than Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, who's going to be talking about the 30th anniversary of the LA Uprising and what it really means to achieve equity in healthcare. We're going to be joined by two of our most dynamic state legislators, Senator Steve Bradford and Assemblymember Isaac Bryan. We're going to be joined by Alec Michelson from Fox LA. He's going to be our MC for the morning. And we have a roster of medical, legal, and other experts who are going to help you get the tools you need to transform your life, the life of your child, the life of your family, and the lives of those in our community. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you go to the Special Needs Network's website and register. The event is selling out fast. And I say selling out in a colloquial way because the event is free, but we do have limited spacing. So if you want to join community leaders and organizers and concerned parents who are working every day to break down barriers that prevent our kids and our families and our communities from getting the best in care. Make sure you register for the Special Needs Network Tools for Transformation Conference. It's coming April 30th, LA Trade Tech College. We would love to see all of you in the house as we reunite and ignite the power that has fueled this organization for the last almost 2 decades now. Again, continue to love someone on the autism spectrum, nurture them, support them, and show that you care during this Autism Acceptance Month.
Hi, my name is Marcos Aguilar Jr. I am one of the assistant clinical directors with Special Needs Network. I've been with Special Needs Network since June of 2016, so going on about 6 years now. Part of my initial experience started working in Tarzana out of the Valley, and it initially started for me as a college job. But I knew quickly, once I got my foot into the door and working with children with autism, I realized quickly that this is the field for me. And more specifically, I was able to encounter my own personal reinforcers. I was able to help a child who was exhibiting 30 self-injurious behaviors a day to exhibiting 0 self-injurious behaviors. And it was that participant in my interaction with that participant in his environment that included his parents, his teachers, that really, really reinforced me into pursuing a career into this field. And once I started my grad school, I quickly realized that I wanted to work in my community. I grew up in Lamar Park. I went to Crenshaw High School, and a lot of families that were receiving services out of Los Angeles were just happy to have services. We're happy to have therapists into their home. And they didn't care if you were on your day 1, if you were on day 2 in this career, they were just happy to access services. And part of my goal in coming with Special Needs Network, and part of the reason why I love being here and why I found a home here and why this is a family to me, is that I've been able we've been able to show families that what quality services entail. And through that, our reinforcement is to ensure that everyone is having a positive experience, and being able to be a part of the different areas that Special Needs Network focuses on, whether it's helping the community, whether it's participating through JPAC, whether it is helping families to access resources to help them advocate for their families. There's multiple different areas where we help those families and where we see family grow. And as a Latino kid who grew up in this community, I wanted families to have positive experiences, to receive support from a person who looks like them, to be able to speak about their day-to-day issues, their day-to-day struggles with their child who's impacted by autism, and to be able to trust in their clinician that they are going to get that support, that they are going to get that help. And through my experiences here, I've been able to meet a lot of different families who all have different needs, who are a part of different communities that impacts them differently to others. And we also encourage our team to try to find something else, something grander that they can also access and be able to grow through. So a lot of our clinicians, the therapists that we work with, reside in these areas, reside in these communities, whether it's South Central, whether it's Watts, whether it's Compton. And sometimes they come in and this is a job for them initially, a college job for them. And through their experiences and through their interactions with the different families, they learn that this is the field for them. And similar to my experience, they quickly understand that this is what they want to do moving forward. And we try to, if anything, reinforce that thought or reinforce that that want or that drive to want to pursue this job as a career. And what we continue to do is help these families understand that ABA isn't always just your 4 to 6 therapy. It's more than that. Um, it is a it is an extended family. You're in someone's safe zone. You're in someone's day-to-day life, and you're seeing what they're opening up a door that they don't typically open to other people, right? And at the same time, you're interacting with those families. You're interacting with their families, even their extended families, and you're able to see what this person is going through. And sometimes you have one child who has autism, two children who have autism, and you're seeing how many things these families juggle all at once. Their work, they're having to take their kids to school, having to attend IEP meetings, having to take their children to speech therapies, to occupational therapy sessions, and then having to come back home to partake in their ABA sessions. And this is a commitment, but at the same time, it should be a commitment to a positive experience. It should be a commitment to learning about learning how to navigate an environment to find it to become reinforcing in some way, shape, or form. So through my years in being in this field, we've been able to meet a lot of different families, work through a lot of different behaviors, help families in finding those resources, whether it's resources for in-home services, whether it's resources for clinic services, and even resources in educational services, and helping them in finding a voice to be able to advocate for themselves and to be able to access the services that their child is entitled to, and the services that their child needs. Now, I've worked for a lot of different agencies, and while a lot of different agencies have resources for families and where they help families access different resources to obtain services or whatnot, the way that Special Needs Network stands out in comparison to those other agencies is that Special Needs Network they're not just going to provide you with resources. They're going to help guide you, right? They're going to help you access those different resources that others will probably find impossible to find. Whether it's through tools for transformation, whether it's through the parent advocacy mentorship program. What Special Needs Networks does is they try to give those families a voice in learning how to access the resources that they need for their child to be able to grow and for their child to be able to exceed in life. Oftentimes, children of color don't get diagnosed until the latter parts of their years. And if you're being diagnosed at whether you're 5 or 6 years old, you're talking about 5 or 6 years lost of services that they could have accessed. And with us here, you could be 5 or 6 years old accessing services, but what we're going to try to do is hear you out, listen to what your barriers are currently, where you're having difficulty, and try to guide you in finding those resources and finding that access to care and that access to services.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dwayne Cox II. I'm an actor, screenwriter, VFX artist, martial artist, and autism advocate. I suppose you could say that my story started with autism when I was about 3 years old, because that was the age at which I was diagnosed. I didn't know a lot about autism at the time because I was 3, of course, but I just knew that at a very young age, I was aware that I was in doctor's offices, a lot of doctor's offices. And it got to the point where I asked my mom, is something wrong with me? And I'm only like a little kid at this point. And she said, well, honey, not necessarily, you just have autism. Now, at the time, I was just relieved it wasn't like a flu or a cold or anything like that. But having autism really didn't sort of materialize in my brain until middle school, when having social interactions was something that was becoming more and more important to me. And in previous years, I had had my behavior corrected, like stemming behaviors out in public that needed to be corrected. And so my diagnosis, I was becoming more and more aware of it as time went on. Now, from the very beginning, Ariva Martin, who is one of the founders of Special Needs Network in the first place, has been a fierce advocate of mine, making sure I had all of the materials I needed in order to excel in an academic environment. She's been like someone that who's been kind of like a guardian angel to me in a lot of ways. And so when I reached out to get a job for Special Needs Network, I was welcomed pretty easily in, because there was a sort of a work ethic that I had developed all throughout high school and middle school and college that I really wanted to sort of give back to my community. And I chose the autism community in particular to give back to because I have a very unique experience on it. Or that is to say that every single person who has autism has a unique experience about it. But I just felt that I was given an ability to share it more eloquently due to the progress I've made, not only mentally, but also just that I would have the ability to speak. Because as you know, there's some people with autism who can barely speak at all. So I kind of felt like there was sort of a responsibility for me to sort of get myself out there. And I started off as an advocate. I started off giving conferences to my old middle school teachers and as educators, because they wanted to know, because I was honestly one of the first students with autism that they had ever had when I was at my middle school. So when I came back to it in my high school years, I gave my middle school educators something to think about. This graduated to where I was giving conferences in front of an education board down in the Victorville region, which if anyone's familiar with LA, is like high out in the high desert. That graduated for me giving a conference in front of 200 or so people as a keynote speaker. And my autism events of advocation, of where I would give keynote presentations on it, increased and increased and increased to the point where I'm now here sharing my story in front of how many or so people are watching this video right now, which is something that I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams, which is something I'm very thankful for. Because if you know me in like first grade, you would know that I was terrified of crowds. Of course, it wasn't, I kind of got that drilled out of me. So now I barely have any fear of them at all, which is something, again, very thankful for. Because of the aforementioned unique experience that every single person who has autism has, any advice I would give to somebody with autism would only be able to share the information that from my experience. I would only share what I've figured out, what I've ascertained. I can't speak for everybody. I just want to get that disclaimer out of the way. But if I were to sort of narrow down some things, and just a little sidebar, I'm actually working on a one-man show as like a little side project, because as I said, I'm a screenwriter. And I'm working on a one-man show where I give my perception or my perceptive of autism and how it's affected my life. One of the things that I like to compare autism to, or rather what I would rather people not compare it to, well, I know that the jigsaw piece is like the symbol of autism, like either the blue jigsaw piece or the multicolored jigsaw piece. And that's a good analogy, but I always viewed it as a point of, oh, I'm a piece of a puzzle that has to fit in there somewhere. And if I don't fit, I don't work. So I felt like it was kind of limiting, but that's only my belief. I also think of autism, people sometimes compare it to like a Rubik's Cube, as I see in my hand. Because, you know, you have to get it all the sides on the, all the right colors on the right sides, and it's a whole thing. And, you know, it's only ever solved when everything's symmetrical. It can't be accepted to look like this, otherwise it's like not solved. And, you know, because there's no cure for autism, it's just something you live with. So I don't know if I would call it like a solvable problem. What I found really helped was when I compared it to an Etch-a-Sketch. Because the Etch-a-Sketch, you have to kind of sort of move in a very straight line and turn in a very straight line, the same way people on the spectrum can take things very literally. So you have to operate in these very thin lines and try to make something out of these very thin lines. And the only way you can get it to curve is if you turn both lines at the same, turn both knobs at the same time, which, if you really think about it, is often how I was able to sort of be able to deal with like the randomness of life. If something didn't go according to plan, I would just sit back and think to myself, okay, how can I rework this new information into my preconceived plan? Or if I have to throw my original plan to do something out, can I come up with a new one quickly enough? So I like to think of autism as an Etch-a-Sketch. And I'm going to elaborate on that more in my the one-man show that I'm still working on, but I really hope to share that very soon. I suppose if there's any like one last thing I would probably say that's very prominent in regards to my representation, or like what I can offer the community of people on the spectrum, it's the idea of how we're portrayed in the media. Because as a screenwriter, you're privy to a lot of behind the scenes things as to how a lot of Hollywood or TV films are made, and all like the different character tropes. And as a person who studies film vehemently, I couldn't help but notice that across the board, autism has been represented in a very one note kind of light. You know, it's depicted as somebody, generally a cisgender white male, with a very specific set of attributes. And I feel like as a person who's of mixed race, that feels kind of exclusive or excluding me. And also, I don't feel like there's extremes, if that makes any sense. There's extremes. Like there's either somebody is really, 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 really heavily limited by it, or it's like a superpower. And I feel that you have to have a little bit of a mix of both, a little bit more to actually, like, I don't want to write an autistic character. I want to write a character who just so happens to be autistic, because I feel like that's the best way to give off any representation on anything ever. But the pitfall that I keep running into is that because autism is such a unique experience for everybody, how do I write a character that can be unanimously or widely accepted? Because nobody experiences exactly the same thing. It's a very, very interesting catch-22 that I've been thinking a lot about. So those are things that I consider. But I really want to be able to get the community to a point where it can be talked about normally, or at least as normally as I'm willing to talk about it. And I just hope that for anybody watching this, for any parents who have kids on the spectrum, that you are seen, you are not alone, and that I suppose that there is hope. There is definitely hope for anyone. There's just hope. And in case anybody needs to hear that, I really do feel like I'm blessed to be able to be the one to tell that to you. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Berry Lamont, and I have known Ariva Martin since we attended law school together. I became involved in Special Needs Network because I knew Ariva had a son who had autism, and my son had been diagnosed with autism. That's a simple story, but the emotion is much greater than that. The beginning of my journey with autism was when my then 3-year-old son was diagnosed, and I did not know what to do or where to turn. And I remember that my former classmate had started an organization. I was not involved with Special Needs Network at the time, and this was very early days for Special Needs Network. We're talking now 15 years ago. So I called Ariva, and she told me to come to her office, and she sat me down, and she gave me great personal guidance. And that was wonderful, to have that personal relationship with a friend who knew and understood what I was going through. But that was really not the most important thing that happened to me related to Special Needs Network, or and because of my relationship with Ariva. A few months later, I attended Tools for Transformation, and it was the most illuminating, eye-opening, connective experience I'd had as a recent mother of a recently diagnosed child with autism. After that day, when there was so much enlightenment, so much comfort coming just from the fact of being around people who were going through, had gone through, had insights about the journey I was just beginning, I said to Ariva, anything you want, I want to help, I want to be involved. And from that day, I soon became very active in Special Needs Network. I became a board member. I became the vice president of the board. I am the chairperson of the Evening Under the Stars and the co-chairperson of the Pink Pump Affair, which are two of the signature events that Special Needs Network has to raise funds for the numerous programs that the organization provides. So that's how I became involved, and why I stay involved, because I know what it's like to be that lost parent trying to figure out at the very beginning how to maneuver the world of special needs, how to deal with schools, how to deal with the information you might be receiving from doctors, and most importantly, how to, raise your children in a way that they are accepted for who they are and how they are. Special Needs Network is an amazing organization in that there are so many different opportunities, so many programs that are available both for the children as well as for the parents. There is the Camp JPAC for children with autism, and they're typically developing siblings. There is the Parent Advocate Mentorship Program, PAM. There's even South LA Gets Fit. There's so many opportunities for parents to interact with other parents, for children to interact with each other, for the parents to be taught how to be advocates for their own children. And that to me is one of the most important things, services that Special Needs Network provides, is that I remember when I didn't know what to do and how useful the organization was in giving me footing. And that, I believe, is what we do, especially for our community, the community of Black and Brown, underserved, economically disadvantaged, sometimes language challenged. We help our families become confident that they can speak on behalf of their children. They can help their children. They can help their children to speak on their own. And that's part of, in terms of autism and acceptance of autism, is we started in a time period where it was more about not just being aware of special needs, but helping other people, somewhat of a, not patronizing, but somewhere of a more of a, I'm going to teach you what to do. And we have grown to an organization where we share information with each other, where other, parents teach us, where we recognize that our kids, yes, they have differences, but they are not defined by their differences, that they are, their humanity is equivalent to anyone else's. And so we focus on making sure that they are accepted and equalized in that regard.
Hello, my name is Michelle Baylor. I am a mother of 4 children. 2 of my children are on the autism spectrum, and I have a daughter with a specific learning disability. I came to Special Needs Network 10 years ago when I was a young mother. My son, Justin, was newly diagnosed with autism, and so was my son, Christopher. It was very challenging and very hard for me because I didn't know how to navigate the special education system. I didn't know how to access the information and resources within the special need community. And one day I was at a parent resource center and they told me about Special Needs Network, and I began to go to their opening day of Camp JPAC. And I got hesitant because when you're a parent with a child with a special needs, you don't know if anyone's going to receive your child or be receptive to your child. You have all of these fears that plague inside your mind. What if they don't accept me? What if they don't accept them? What if they don't like them? What if they treat them differently or mistreat them? So I remember getting hesitant about going to the camp, and I began to go down the steps of Camp JPAC, and someone was standing behind me, and it was Ariva Martin. And she gave me a hug, and she had told me my kids were welcome there, and we've been a part of Special Needs Network for over 10 years now. My son, Jonathan, has been a Camp JPAC counselor, and my daughter volunteers at the Tools for Transformation conferences and at the opening day of Camp JPAC, and Special Needs Network has been our second family. I'm so grateful to Special Needs Network because not only did it give me the tools to learn about how to navigate the special education system, it gave me my second family. I have friends who I can call on in case of an emergency, friends that call on me in case they need me. And for their children, we have become a family, which is a very rare thing to say because you have your own intermediate family, but sometimes in your family, they don't understand autism or special needs or how to navigate the system. And sometimes they can be closed in. So Special Needs Network and Ariva Martin gave me this second group of family members, this second group of friends who I can call on, I can pray with, I can talk to when I'm having a meltdown going through an IEP process, because we've all been there at that same point together. What I love about Special Needs Network is because they are not only an organization that talks the talk, but they walk the walk. For example, a program called PAM, Parent Advocates and Mentors. This class is a 6 to 12 week class that teaches parents how to navigate the special education system, how to read IEPs, because frankly, when you're a parent and you don't know anything about IEPs, it's like being on Mars and listening to paraprofessionals speak a different language, and you feel like you're in the land of Oz and you're Dorothy trying to find your way home, and it's so challenging. So Pam teaches you how to read those notes and read those progress reports, how to access in-home services, how to tap into those resources in the community that you really don't know how to access. So I'm so grateful to them. And not only that, they created an inclusion camp, a camp that special needs children and their siblings and friends can all be together, which creates a overwhelming goal to teaching children who do not understand what the special needs community is about, who do not know what little children with autism or disabled children have, learning how to just become friends, learning that, okay, this person might be different, but they're special in their own unique way. So Special Needs Network has created Camp JPAC, and they created a conference, the Tools for Transformation Conference, that helps parents listen to different speakers and facilitators talk about how to, deal with your emotions, how to access the right resources to help you for your family. Because when a child is diagnosed with any disability, it not only impacts the child, but it impacts the whole family as a complete whole, as a unit. Dad is impacted, mom is impacted, the siblings are impacted. And Special Needs Network has been that one organization that taps into helping not only one person and not only the child, but the whole family together, which I'm so grateful to. Many parents struggle with their marriages. I can honestly say my marriage was impacted by my two sons and their disabilities. And I can honestly say Ariva Martin and Special Needs Network was one of the first organizations that provided family therapy for me and my ex to go to, just to learn, even if we were not going to be married, we still can be a family in order to serve our children and be there and let them know that they're being loved unconditionally. This organization is one organization that I can honestly say, out of every organization, it really does help the community, especially the Black and Brown community, because our individuals and our people struggle with getting the right resources. So this organization is in the community, helping families, providing behavior services in home and outside and in the community. I can honestly say that I'm so grateful to this organization. It was Ariva that encouraged me to go back and fulfill my dreams. I am a social worker for the Department of Veteran Affairs. Two of my children are graduating from high school. My oldest son, Justin, is turning 21 this year, and this will be his last year in the special education system. And if it wasn't for Ariva, if it wasn't for Special Needs Network, I don't even know where I would be today. You talk about Special Needs Network and Ariva Martin. I just have to say, she gave me my village. She gave me my friends. She gave me my second family. I have in my personal inner circle, my mom and my sister. That's it. Every other family member I have ever had since they found out my kid had autism have basically just shunned us. But with this organization, through Ariva, I got a second village. I have my family. I can call on my sisters or my brothers that have kids with special needs and talk about a frustrating day. If they need help with the IEP meeting or with their homework because they're trying to go back to school themselves and reiterate back into the workforce, I'm helping them. We serve each other. And then we go out and we help our community. That's what I love about Special Needs Network and Ariva Martin. She is very real. She is that type of person that she will call you or text you during Thanksgiving and say, hey, what you cooking over there? And I'm like, I'm cooking this. What are you cooking? She's a real authentic individual. You have people in society that advocate for autism and talk about, I'm doing this, and it doesn't feel relatable. But with her, it's very much relatable. I can honestly tell you the many times my kids have been in the hospital or been sick, or, whether it's a holiday or it's Christmas, she's texting like, hey, how's Christmas going over there? It's going good. She's that type of individual. She's authentic. She's rare. She's special. she's my sister, she's my mentor, she's the second mom, she's my aunt, she's everything to me. And I love her. I love that woman. There's nothing that she cannot ask me to do that I will not do for her, because she sacrificed so much to create this organization to help so many. So for that, I will always be indebted to her, and I love her with all my heart, and I love this organization. And I'm just so happy to be a part of this organization. 13 years. So that's a great thing. And I just want to say I love you, Ariva, and I love everyone there at Special Needs Network, and continue to do what you do, which is empower and create and help others achieve their best, and loving children with special needs and individuals with disabilities. Thank you so much.